is a situation in which one sex is favored over the other, and this can take place in many different forms. For example, men getting paid more than women, or for example, men getting more raises, pay raises than women. So with take this opportunity to introduce my teammates. I'd like to begin with Tahir Ganduz. He's an HR manager. Um, I'd like to also introduce Asma Al-Alawi. She's a psychologist. Hachim Hajir, he's a legal consultant. Shayma Lamjad, she's a Moroccan worker. And Yahya Ejhaddo, he's an IT expert. Thank you guys for coming.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so who are just joining us, I'd like to take the chance again to inform you guys that we are presenting, that our webinar today will be about gender inequality. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. I'd like to begin by asking Mr. Tahir Ganduz a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So what is the importance of equality in the workplace?
So, hi everyone. I said my name is Tahir Ganduz and I'm an HR manager. I want to mention that gender inequality is a difficult topic to speak about because it has many perspectives and people can see it in many ways. So when it comes to mine, I will specify to gender inequality inside the workplace to be more efficient. So I will highlight also that this phenomenon does not affect only women, but also men, yet the biggest part affected is women. So as an HR professional, it's primordial for us to ensure the gender equality inside the workplace. We have many tasks to do to make this value into applications as recruitment, giving appraisals. So we have many tasks to do that are related to gender equality. So for me, it is important to have this value inside the work environment because it helps to the development of organization, which is the basic goal of the HR field, the development of organization. So, as we know, ladies take a big part of the modern industry, right? This huge number of women are also contributing to the general development. So basically, if they are marginalized and don't get the deserved appraisal and don't reach the status that they deserve, they will not give their best in their work because of the stress, lower self-esteem, and other drawbacks. So surely we will miss a huge part in our development. So now you can see how gender inequality affects the enhancement of society. So thank you. If you have
Okay, thank you. Now that we have a general idea of the importance of equality in the workplace, I'd like to move over to talk about how it's implied and reinforced in the Moroccan society. So to do so, I'd like to talk to Mr. Hatim. Due to his background in law. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what are the major shortcomings of the laws in regards to gender equality in Morocco?
All right. As we know, in 2011 there was a new constitution that granted more equality between men and women from a perspective of from the perspective of work, but also in the marital bond. But the law does still have some shortcomings, some limits. For example, it fails to penalize marital rape, which is today not considered rape in the Moroccan Penal Code, but a simple physical aggression. Conjugal rape and more generally violence against spouses is often taken lightly by the legislature. Unfortunately, many victims end up abandoning the procedure because they are certain that the law is not on their side. The Moroccan women, whether married or single, must be able to enjoy tranquility and safety in their everyday lives, just like their male counterparts. This idea can only be achieved through the introduction of concrete laws criminalizing all types of violence against women, including in the marital context. A bill to this effect has been tabled in the parliament. In case of adoption, it will provide legal amendments necessary for the protection and defense of wives assaulted, abused, or raped by their husbands. There are other problems such as the social status of single mothers, which are still considered almost second-class citizens in the country. When a woman gives birth out of wedlock, which means outside the bond of marriage, the legislature does not recognize her or her child as victims, and the father has no child support obligations. The correct solution to this problem, to me, would be the incorporation of broken promises of marriage and all the evidence that the complainant can provide, in addition to the all-important DNA test that is essential to push the father to take responsibility for his child. It is the only way, in my opinion, to effectively help these mothers and their children to a real social integration and to enjoy full system. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, I'd also like to ask you about what do you think the general legal state of gender inequality is in Morocco?
Before the Constitution of 2011, the country had already made advancements in the field of gender equality. So we have the Code du Travail of 2003, which is the Moroccan work-related code of law. It had already made it clear that men and women were equal in the work. In 2002, the Civil Code gave both parents the birth of their children. In the same vein, the revision of the Nationality Code in 2007 allowed Moroccan women married to foreigners the right to transmit their nationality to their child born in outside of marriage. The new law of 2011 was announced as a legal reference document likely to guarantee better protection for women against all forms of violence. So this law criminalized acts of violence with special provisions in more detail. The text seeks to punish forced marriage and physical violence. Also, the transfer of financial resources of the family without pay. The instigator of a forced marriage faces a prison sentence ranging from 6 months to a year, and a fine ranging from 10,000 to 30,000 dirhams. Certain circumstances are considered aggravating, like an act of violence against a pregnant woman or a woman in the presence of her children or parents will be further subject to more fines or a longer prison sentence. Another offending attitude is that of sexual harassment. Street harassment may be punishable by 6 months imprisonment and a fine of 2,000 to 10,000 dirhams. Penalties that may be imposed as a result of sexual harassment, whether conveyed by text, voice messages, or photos. Sanctions will be toughened in cases where the harassment is committed by such as a colleague or a person in a superior position, a superior hierarchical position. Another type of violence against women that the new law has addressed is that of repudiation. Is the widespread practice in Morocco, consisting of expulsing one's wife from the home without her children. In this case, the right to allow the expelled wife to return to her natural mother's house with her child in her care. The accused spouse, on the other hand, will be eligible to a prison term of 3 months and a fine of 5,000 dirhams. So we can see that like the fight for uh, equality of women and men is going not at the best, but it's going well.
Okay, so uh, I guess it's safe to assume that you think that in general, Morocco is improving in
Yeah,
terms of, yeah.
absolutely. Like we have made some decisive and very important steps in the right direction. Like we're
Uh-huh.
heading in the right direction, even
Okay.
though slowly.
Now I think it would be interesting to ask a Moroccan worker, Shema, about what she thinks about equality in Morocco. So, Shema, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that gender inequality is important because despite of the change and the new laws that the government did in order to decline the level of gender inequality, I'm still facing gender inequality everywhere in the workplace and also outside the workplace. Because I think Morocco is a society that is controlled by tradition and stereotypes, and also we grow up with cultural practices that always separates the two gender, and also we raised thinking that women have certain duties and certain responsibilities that men don't have. For example, women should clean the house, take care of children, make food, and husband need to work. We also grew up with the idea that men are superior than women. Due to that, I think that if a Moroccan woman wants to be something big and achieve her dreams and work in a job that were male dominated field, like engineering or politics and so on, she needs to be and rejection. That's why I think working in an environment that treats women and men equally will be beneficial for both the company and also the workers. That's, I
Okay.
hope I answered your question.
Okay. So you seem to think that Morocco still needs a lot of improvement in equality. Okay. Okay. So I'd like to move on to tackling the subject from a more scientific perspective. So I'm going to ask Asma Al-Alawi to please answer a few questions of mine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you is, how do you think inequality affects our mental health?
So our brain reacts to gender inequality as a set of emotions and feelings that are strongly related to our nervous system. One of the main areas of our brain that are in charge of this type of operation is the limbic system, more precisely the amygdala, which processes emotions through neurotransmitters such as serotonin or dopamine to the brain. While perceiving this type of emotion, it is very common to experience a feeling of self-doubt or insecurity, or even anger, which eventually leads to negative results, whether in our daily life or, in this case, professional life. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome. Okay, so lastly, I'd like to move on to something that is a bit original and it doesn't really go with the theme we've been on, but I'd like to please have Yahya Echadoun speak to me. Okay, so from what I understand, you have a different perspective on the matter of gender inequality in the workplace. Am I right?
Yes, I surely do.
Okay, so could you please elaborate?
All right. So, I have been a cybersecurity IT in my firm for the past 2 years, and uh, most of, we'll say, the population of our firm is composed of women. We have 90% of our workers that are female workers. We as men have the lower grades, I'd say. Um, Traditionally speaking, the stereotypes that Morocco impose on us are often just as difficult for us to live up to. There are enormous pressures to be a real man, to demonstrate physical and emotional strength, and to provide financial aid as the family breadwinner, aka the guy who brings money at home and makes the whole family happy. Uh, trying to live up to this ideal can lead to feelings of inadequacy. Personally, in Morocco, there has been this gender inequality concerning women. I guess that's about right to think that it only touches women, and there is a little tiny little bit minority of men that are touched by this, but it's practically in existence. That's why I wanted to share my experience with you guys, and hopefully with the whole government of Morocco. We are all responsible for making gender equity and equality a reality in our workplaces, and this change needs to be led from the very top. Real change becomes possible when we have open and challenging conversations about gender equity and equality. Real and positive change, disruptive change, also needs to start with a yes. Yes, there is inequality in the workplace. Yes, we need to work it out. And yes, we need to make a change. That's about right for me to say that I'm not the only victim in this story. There are others in this country that prefer to be left alone or prefer to be anonymous, and I'm not afraid to step up and try to make a change. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
This was actually very interesting and caught me off guard because usually when we think about gender inequality, we think that it's usually that women are usually the target. But yeah, that was an interesting take on the subject, and I'd like to take this opportunity to open the floor for debate. I'd like to know what the other participants think about this. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay, did you hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that men, I think that women are more, they suffer more from gender inequality than men. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. Yeah. Not to dismiss what you're experiencing, Yahya. Okay,
Like I said before, I'm sorry for cutting you, Mr. Moderator. I'm just saying that,
okay.
yeah, in fact, of course, women are more touched than this. I already said it earlier that we're a small, tiny, bitty minority that we are touched with this. Like I said, me, myself, and few other men across the whole country are touched. We're not complaining. We prefer to be silent and mute and anonymous and try not to go out in the space and be looked down at because we're men. And for Morocco is a traditional and Muslim country, men is a sign of power, uh, contrary to the woman, which is a stupid and basic and inappropriate idea to think right now in 2018. I give you that. Women are still, and maybe will still be in the future here in Morocco, treated as lower than men, but there are a few exceptions. And of course, it's not my word and not my rights to like forget about what women go through every day here in our country, but it's good to also give the place to some of those special cases that are going through the same thing as you guys.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, so with that being said, I guess Morocco still has quite a ways to go in terms of actually having like perfect equality between both genders. But as previously mentioned by Mr. Hatim, we're in the right direction. So hopefully things do work out. With that being said, this is the end of the webinar. A recorded version will be made available on YouTube for you guys to watch at any time. And thank you for your time and for tuning in. And yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
And don't hesitate to ask us questions.
Yes. Okay.